The Coso mountain range, located at the Naval Air Weapons Station, China Lake, is one of the hottest places in the world. It was here, in 1964, that Navy geologist Dr. Carl Austin first reported conclusively the potential for geothermal energy. In 1977, several shallow test holes proved the existence of commercial temperatures and flow rates. A year later, the Department of Defense established the Geothermal Program Office, or GPO, and designated the Navy as the lead agency for geothermal exploration and development on military lands. In 1979, the Navy awarded a contract to California Energy Company to develop the geothermal field at Coso and to supply power to the Navy with a demand of 20 megawatts. In June 1993, the Coso field peaked with a producing average of greater than 270 net megawatts. Currently, field-wide production totals over 40,000 gigawatt hours of delivered power, and plant online availability is above 98%. During the 30-plus years of Coso's exploration and development, neither industry activities nor Navy testing were impacted or compromised. The power facilities can be operated remotely, off-site, without encroachment to Navy range operations and mission security. The Naval Air Station at Fallon, Nevada, is located 60 miles east of Reno in a circular depression within the physiographic province called the Carson Sink. GPO exploration efforts led to the drilling of 3 gradient holes and 1 deep test hole. In an attempt to prove the resource and minimize the risk for future investors, the Navy successfully flowed FOH-3. These efforts resulted in awarding a long-term contract to Ormat Nevada Incorporated in 2005 to construct a 15 to 30 megawatt facility. The China Lake and Fallon contracts were made possible through the Military Construction Authorization Act of 1979. Several other U.S. congressional codes strengthened this initial law by authorizing DoD to explore, develop, and market renewable energy resources. This relationship between the Navy and an independent power producer was made possible through a unique contracting vehicle, a public-private venture, PPV. The Navy performs initial exploration and resource delineation, thus reducing some of the upfront risk for the developer. Within the 32 million acres of land managed by the DoD, the GPO's most recent exploration has taken place at these 6 facilities. At Naval Air Facility El Centro, 2 geothermal test holes drilled in late 2008 revealed significant heat and hydrothermal alteration. A 3rd test hole is planned for late 2009. Within the Chocolate Mountains aerial gunnery range, new high-resolution LiDAR data have been assessed in conjunction with gravity and magnetic data. A dozen temperature gradient drilling targets have resulted from this analysis. The drilling campaign will begin in the fall of 2009. At the Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center, 29 Palms, Seabees from the Naval Construction Division drilled 5 800 to 1,000-foot temperature gradient holes in the Sand Hill area under the supervision of GPO. Anomalously high geothermal gradients in 2 of these holes and previously unidentified active faults in the area discovered through LiDAR analysis have compelled the GPO to schedule the drilling of additional test holes early in 2010. The GPO, with support from Epsilon Support Systems and the Great Basin Center for Geothermal Energy of the University of Nevada, Reno, initiated exploratory fieldwork at NAS Fallon's Bombing Range 16 in 2009. Like all GPO projects, expected outcomes include identification of potential drilling targets and a greater understanding of how and where geothermal systems occur. The results of these efforts will help locate targets for shallow temperature gradient holes to be drilled in the late spring and early summer 2010. The GPO will also acquire and interpret high-resolution LiDAR and hyperspectral imagery for NAS Fallon-managed lands in the Carson Sink and Dixie Valley. At Hawthorne Army Depot, the GPO successfully drilled 2 slim geophysical test holes on the southwestern boundary of the base. Temperatures at Hawthorne No. 2A reached in excess of 230 degrees Fahrenheit at shallow depths, suggesting that Hawthorne has a commercially viable geothermal resource. The GPO, with support from Epsilon, Great Basin Center for Geothermal Energy, the University of Texas, and others, is currently developing a model to further delineate the subsurface geologic structure of the Hawthorne Basin. Results of this work, to be completed by January 2010, will identify shallow to deep drilling targets, which will further define the extent of the geothermal reservoir. An assessment of the geologic setting of the South Range area of NAW's China Lake is currently underway. The GPO recently awarded a contract to conduct geologic investigations in the area of the East Lava Mountains, Almond Mountain, and Slate Range. Plans for drilling shallow temperature gradient holes are scheduled for 2010.